So I just started the playlist. You can go ahead and join if you would like. And then so we're going to start in a kneeling posture with our toes tucked. That can feel quite nice through the hips. And so you can take the knees wide. So I only have one mat today, so I'll be adjusting and changing to show you different angles, but you just keep looking forward. And just take a moment to tuck all 10 toes under. So it will look somewhat like this. And you can close the eyes, and this can be quite intense, especially if you wear shoes. So if you need to come out of it, feel free to. But try to draw the inner part of the ankle to touch, and then allow your weight to sink back in towards the heels of the feet. And just straight away notice if this is something that is creating what type of sensation. Just observe it. I don't want to tell you what you should be experiencing, but our feet tend to carry just a lot of tension. And try to breathe deeply into the belly. So maybe it will help to bring one hand to the lower part of the belly, below the belly button. You can try to concentrate your breath down into that space. And then with every breath out, allow yourself to sink a little bit deeper into the feet. And we'll just be here for a few more breaths. And one more deep breath in. One more deep breath out. And then start to rise up onto the knees. Untuck the toes and come into a child's pose. So you can keep the knees wide and just fold forward. Somebody else just joined. Hey, yupping. So we are just in a child's pose. So feel free to join us with the knees wide and then the big toes together. So it will be like this. And from this child's pose, just keep your forehead on the ground if it's comfortable. And you can just stay still for the first few moments, focusing on your breathing. And with every breath out, allowing yourself to fall a little bit heavier into the ground. So maybe you can find this relationship of letting go of tension with the breath out. And then you can sort of sway from side to side and allow the weight to shift into the left shin, and then roll the belly through the middle and shift over towards the right shin. And just a gentle undulation from side to side. So you can feel this movement beginning from the tailbone and sort of rippling up the spine. And then come back through the center. And as you inhale, start to round the spine and make the way up to an angry cat pose. Press into the hands so you can really feel this doming sensation across the upper back. And then as you inhale, start to drop the belly and broaden across the chest to look up towards the ceiling. And then just do that with your breath a few times. Round the spine, look back, press to the hands. And then inhale, drop the belly, broaden the chest, look up. You can find these bigger circles here. So maybe you start to sink back towards child's pose and just use this as an exploration of the body to feel into the physical needs that you have today. Good. And then the next time you come forward with the shoulders over the wrists, just walk the hands forward one palm's distance and start to really sort of still round across the spine, like you're trying to magnetize the pubic bone up towards the heels of the hands. And maybe you can feel a gentle engagement through the core. Shift forward and start to hug the elbows till maybe they graze the sides of the ribs, and lower all the way down to your belly. So keep the hands on the ground, press to the tops of the feet, press to the pubic bone. Inhale, lift the chest away from the ground and keep the back of the neck long. Take a breath into the belly, maybe find an inch higher through the spine. And then exhale, vertebra by vertebra, make your way back to the belly. Let's just do that twice more. Inhale, lift the chest away from the ground. Exhale, lower down. And one more time. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Press to the hands and lift the belly button from the ground first. And then really press to the hands to come up to a reverse plank. And then tuck the toes and send the sit bones back for your first downward facing dog. And then once you're here, press to the hands. So you really want the same amount of pressure in the hands as you do in the feet. You can pedal through the heels and bend one knee and straighten one leg and alternate that movement. Just feeling into the hamstrings, feeling into the spine. Allow the gaze to land on one point. This is your drishti. Maybe it's in between the big toes. Maybe it's in between the knees. Or maybe it's up towards the belly button, if that's okay for the neck. And try to find this even inhale and even exhale. So you can breathe in for 2, 1, and exhale for 2, 1. And then maybe even extend that. So maybe it's 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can count. Try to find the same inhale and the same exhale. And then look to the space in between the hands and start to tiptoe the feet to the top of the mat. So you can try to take lots of baby steps. And at what point do the hands want to lift from the ground? And then you can widen the feet, hip distance, micro bend the knees, and fold to your forward fold. Just allow the top of the head to really be heavy here towards the earth. So it's like the torso is just cascading and water falling over the legs. And then maybe you grab opposite elbows here and you roll your belly open to one side of the room. You can straighten and bend the legs as you need to, and then roll back through the center and open the belly towards the other wall. And then you can just sort of freely flow from side to side. And then release the hands down to the ground. Shake the head no, and shake the head yes. And then inhale, find a halfway lift. So you can keep your hands on the ground if that's accessible. Just lengthen the spine forward. The hands can also come under the knees. And then exhale, fold forward. And with the inhale, start to press through the feet and slowly stack the spine, vertebra by vertebra, all the way up to standing. And start to bring the hands, the elbows to the sides, the fingers towards the center, and close the eyes. I am going to send the playlist again for Yaping in case you want to practice with music. It's just in the chat, so feel free to play that if you want. We're on the 3rd or 4th song. Cool. So then from this space, we'll just hold here for a moment with the elbows to the sides, the fingers gently just magnetizing towards the center, but not touching. Close the eyes. And it always surprised me when I first started practicing yoga synergy, how just holding a posture like this can, after a minute or two, really start to build a lot of tension and strength. So that's just it, holding these simple postures and finding the strength in simple. So just take a moment here and allow the shoulders to soften and relax. Allow the knees to take a micro bend. You don't have to lock the legs straight. And really release the sit bones down to the ground so you can almost feel like your pelvis is on a string, the string being the spine. And try to tense less. When we practice, try not to search for extreme sensations of stretching. Try to breathe less, like you're in a natural, restful state. And try to breathe through the nose. And then you can gently blink open the eyes and start to move the fingers like a jellyfish's tendrils. So they're just gently waving. And you can circle the shoulders, see that they are relaxed. And then you can even start to circle through the hips so you can feel this movement coming into the body. And then breathe to the belly. Maybe you can move the belly. And then unclench the jaw so that you can move the neck from side to side. And then with your exhale, start to reach the hands down. And inhale, reach the fingers back up towards the ceiling, like you're pulling matter up from the ground. And then exhale, press down and away. So we're creating this resistance around our skin, moving through the atmosphere around us. Inhale as you reach up, something from the ground. And then exhale, press it down and away. Stay soft and buoyant through the shoulders, the knees, the hips, the belly. And just continue in this loop for a few minutes, moments, not minutes. And the next time you pull up, start to, as if you're pulling something apart, open the hands out to the side, open the chest, flex the fingers back behind you, press through the palms of the hands, but at the same time, still anchor through the sit bones so you're not compressing the lower back. And then inhale, reach the fingers up, look up, really allow the shoulders to drop towards the fingertips here. And then exhale like you're pulling something back down to the ground. And we'll just continue that pattern. Inhale the fingers up. And then open across the chest. Be mindful of the lower back. And then reach up overhead. And just allow this movement to sync with your breath in a natural way, whatever makes sense for you. I find that a lot of the times the posture we move ourselves through allows our body to breathe. So you can move as fast or as slow as you need to. Good, and the next time your hands come down, start to circle the backs of the wrists to touch in front of you. And as you inhale, lift the belly button up, then the chest, and then the gaze will lift last. So we're moving incrementally throughout our spine. Circle the hands around. So you need to use your eyes to visually follow some of the movement. And then reach the fingers and the gaze up. And then the next time the hands circle around, start to flex through the wrists. So we're rounding across the spine, trying to create a C shape. Maybe you lengthen up through one side and then lengthen up through the other, like an animal running through the forest, scratching their back against a tree. And then start to inhale, circle the hands around, lift the chest and reach the fingers back. Press the hands back so you can feel this nerve tensioning running across your wingspan. And then start to angle the fingers to face up towards the ceiling. Draw the fingertips in towards the collarbones and unravel the hands down. Backs of the hands meet and you reach the fingers up, look up. Good, so let's just add on a little bit. You can draw the elbows in towards the belly, round the spine, and then start to flex forward. And from here, you can just stay here with the heels on the earth, or you're welcome to lift the heels from the ground. Find your balance by just keeping your gaze on one point. And then you can stay here, or you can bend the knees and sink the sit bones down. And then to come out, press the sit bones forward, lift from the legs. Release the heels down and open up, lift the chest. So we're expanding the front seam of the body now. Press the palms out, flex the fingers. And again, you have the option to stay here with the heels on the ground, or you can lift the heels from the earth. And if it feels nice, you can send the knees forward and sink the hips low. And then still press the sit bones forward to lift out of that. Then release the heels down, spin the fingers up, and come back with the backs of the hands to meet in front of you. Unfold up towards the ceiling. So you really reach up through the fingertips here. You're welcome to stay just here, or you can lift the heels and bend the knees and come low. Just be mindful of the knees here. And then lift out of that and come back towards center. So now let's move to our spinal movement. So like you're pulling something up from the ground, start to bring one elbow up. So you immediately start to feel a lengthening through the whole side body. And just pause here, the hips are even forward. And then open the hands apart. And then you can stay here, or you can shift the hips to the side that you're lengthening. And this foot is so light. Maybe the toes are on the ground, but you're carrying no weight from the body. Reach the fingers down and up so you can feel the shoulder blades drawing apart, and you can look towards the top hand if that's okay for the neck. Take a breath in here. And then to come out, roll the spine forward. Draw this back hand forward and up. Continue reaching up with the top hand the whole time, and then come back down through the center to the other side. So like you're pulling something up from the ground, the top elbow lifts, and just stay here for a moment, feeling into the other side of the body before opening the arms, shifting the weight, and getting light on these toes. So the hands reach in opposite directions. Maybe the gaze lifts. And just really try to focus through the lateral seam of the body. And then to make your way out, roll forward through the spine. The back hand comes forward and up. And then start to bring the hands back down and allow the elbows to be buoyant here. And spiral from the belly button up towards one side, fingertips gently touching, elbows apart. So the hips are still squaring forward, and then you can open the arms out. Stay active through the palms of the hands. Maybe you can still move through the shoulders. Maybe you can breathe to the belly. And notice if this hip is opening back. See if you can square it forward, and then with the shoulders, reach back. So this twist is isolated through our thoracic spine. Take a breath here. And then slowly hug that back arm forward and around. And unravel the elbows and then the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then draw back towards the center for the other side. So spiraling up, twisting through the spine, and then the arms open last. Continue looking forward so you're lengthening through the side of the neck. Check in with this hip, and then twist the shoulders further back behind you. Hug the back arm in and around. And reach the elbows and the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And we'll just do that one more time. Start to draw the elbows in towards the belly, round the spine forward, flex the wrist forward. So you can stay here, or you can come up onto the heels and sink low. Come back, release the heels to the earth. Press the sit bones forward, lift the chest, reach back behind you. Spin the fingers up. And then the backs of the hands meet in front of you. Inhale up towards the ceiling. So you can stay here, you can come onto the heels and sink here. And then we'll move through our spinal movements one more time. Start to release the hands forward and down. And like you're pulling something up, reach that top elbow up towards the ceiling. Open the hands and then shift the weight. Get light on this foot. Really reach up and down, feel this dynamic resistance in the body, and then roll the belly button forward. Continue reaching up with the top hand the whole time, and we'll just do that on the other side again. Open the hands apart, shift the weight, and get light on the foot. Really reach up and down. Try to stay soft in the belly and the neck. What is the balance of effort and ease? And then roll forward, continue reaching up until both hands reach up. And then draw the hands down and twist to one side. Allow the hands to open last. And then maybe here you finally do allow this hip to open and you spiral all the way back behind you and around yourself like a tornado. Maybe the gaze is even looking back towards the back corner that you're twisting towards. And then hug the back arm forward and around, come back to center. Unwind the elbows and the fingers up towards the ceiling. And then exhale the fingers down. So then twisting to the other side. Arms extend last, looking forward to start. And then allowing the hip to open and you twist around yourself. Maybe the eyes are a part of the twist. And then hug this back arm forward and around. Inhale the elbow and the fingers up. And then bring your hands toward the heart center and start to round the spine forward. You can bend the knees and then release the hands to the ground and then straighten through the backs of the legs for a forward fold. Inhale, find a halfway lift. And while you're in this halfway lift, start to reach the right foot back into the air. So you can be almost in a standing split. You can roll through the right ankle in both directions. And then lower for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you release to a runner's lunge. The back heel is lifted. Inhale, drop the hips, pull the heart forward. And then as you exhale, round the spine, try to draw the forehead towards the front knee, look to the belly button. And do that one more time. Inhale. So it's like we're doing a cat and cow in this runner's lunge over our front leg. And then once your spine rounds, keep the strength through the legs and start to reach the fingers up towards the ceiling. Look up, reach up, really breathe in and stay light and buoyant through the legs. And then with your next breath out, fold forward and down. Place the hands on the ground and step back to a plank. So you can drop the knees to the earth if you need to. We'll lower down to our belly. You can hug the elbows in the whole time. And then bring the elbows forward. So like we're coming through a sphinx, and flex the wrist, raise the hands from the ground. And try to pull the elbows back like you're pulling the earth towards your chest. And try to pull the chest forward in between your hands. You can release the fingers and find this rotation of fluidity through the wrists. Maybe you look up and look down so you can move through the neck too. And then release the hands to the ground and lower vertebra by vertebra. Bring the hands back by the rib cage and tuck, lift the belly button and then press to the hands. Tuck the toes and then come to downward facing dog. And once you're in your downward facing dog, try to use it as a rest posture. Use it to check in with your body and your breath. And just notice if you can still find that even quality of Samavritti breathing. So even with the inhale and even with the exhale. Take one more breath here. And then step the right foot to the top of the mat and spin the left heel down so the toes are at 45 degrees. The hips can still square forward. And I want to move with our breath. Inhale, reach to the sides once you have a strong foundation and come up to warrior one. And then exhale, fold forward. And we'll just do that a few more times. Inhale, reach to the sides and up overhead. Stay strong through your foundation. Exhale, fold, move with your breath. You can use Ujjayi if it's in your practice. Inhale, reach to the sides and up. Exhale, fold. And we'll do that one more time, but we'll hold at the top. Inhale, reach to the sides and up. Maybe the hands stay shoulder distance, or maybe the palms can touch. You can look forward or you can look up. Try to lift the chest upwards so you're feeling this expansion all the way down the front seam of the leg to the front of the left foot. Take one more breath in and out. And then start to exhale, reach the hands to the sides and down. Place them just in front of you and start to lift the left foot from the ground. So you're in a standing split, and then draw the knee towards the nose and release the left foot to the ground. Inhale, find a halfway lift, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach to the sides and up, all the way overhead. The gaze lifts at the top. And then exhale the hands to the heart center. Start to round the spine forward. Bend the knees, release the hands to the ground, and then straighten the backs of the legs. Top of the head reaches down. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Exhale, fold and start to lift the left foot back into the air this time. So you can roll through the ankle in both directions. And then lower for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You land in a runner's lunge. And then sink the hips, pull the heart forward. Exhale, round the spine. Draw the forehead towards the front knee. And one more time on each side. Move with your breath. And then once the spine rounds, press through the feet and start to inhale the fingers up towards the ceiling. Look up, really extend the fingers upwards, the shoulders even start to lift. And then with your next breath out, hands come together and fold forward slowly with control. Press through the hands, step to a plank. You have the option to drop the knees and lower all the way down to the belly. And this time, bring the hands back behind you. And as you inhale, lift the feet, lift the hands, lift the chest for Shalavasana. And breathe to the belly. Try to lift the legs from the inner parts of the thigh. And try to pull the heart forward, stay long in the spine. Take one more breath in. Exhale, lower down. Hands come to the ground. Press into the hands. Tuck the toes and come to a downward facing dog. And just start to settle your breath and become aware of the sensations that you might be experiencing. So maybe you're starting to generate some heat. Is it coming from within, or is it in the room around you? Take one more breath here. And out. Look to the space in between your hands and step the left foot forward. Spin the right heel down so the back foot is at 45 degrees. Hips can still square forward. Inhale, reach to the sides and up. This front knee is bent over the ankle. And then exhale, fold forward. And we'll just do this a few more times. Inhale, the whole time you're coming up, you're inhaling. And the moment your hands meet, you're at the peak of the inhale. And the same with the exhale, fold forward. The moment the exhale ends, the hands reach the floor. One more time like that. Inhale to the sides and up. Exhale, fold forward. This last time we'll hold. Inhale, reach to the sides and up overhead, and pause. So maybe the hands meet or maybe they don't. Maybe the gaze lifts or maybe it doesn't. Try to scissor the hips so you're still squaring the hips forward as if you had headlights on the front of the hip. Take a breath in and out. One more breath in. And with the breath out, reach to the sides and down. Place the hands just in front of the feet and then start to lift the right foot into the air. And then slowly step the right foot to meet the left so you're in forward fold. Allow yourself to be heavy over the legs. And then inhale, find a halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Inhale, reach to the sides and up overhead. So the hands reach up, the gaze lifts. And then exhale the hands back towards the center. Now, we'll start to take your feet about hip width distance. You can just sort of sway from side to side until you feel into the whole sole of each foot. And then stay buoyant in the knees. So allow yourself to bend gently if you need to. And release your hands forward and start to bring the hands up. So the palms are facing up here. And then press the hips forward, start to rotate the hands, lift the chest. And then circle the hands back down. So we'll just turn this into a fluid movement where we can feel our spine rounding forward and then bending backwards. We start to find larger movements through the shoulders. And this becomes a full body movement in neutral posture and yoga synergy. And just feel how the breath comes into the body. It almost feels to me like I'm breathing my body in this posture. And then start to come to the left toe tips. So bend the left knee and start to move over this left leg. And the next time you fold forward, without using your hands, draw this knee in towards the chest. Allow yourself to round over the thigh like you're trying to do a cannonball or something. And then release the toes to the ground, straighten the left leg, circle the hands around, lift the chest up towards the ceiling, and lift from the inner part of the thigh. Start to hover the leg from the ground. You can keep the toes on the ground if you need to. And then flex the toes, flex through the wrists, and release the foot to the ground. And we'll just do that on the other side. So first, in neutral towards the center, we'll find this movement. And then start to come to the right toe tip and move over this leg. Without touching the foot, you can draw the knee towards the chest, round forward, really use the spine, release the lower back, and then press the toe tip down. The leg is straight, lift the chest. Lifting from the inner part of the thigh, you can lift the leg away and flex the toes. And then bend the knee, flex through the wrists, and release the foot to the ground with control. Good. And just find this movement again before we find something else. And then start to bring the left toe tip back to the ground. Really try to scoop your sit bones underneath so you're lengthening across the hip flexors. And reach the hands down in the middle of the legs and start to draw. So we're lengthening this whole side body, so not the side with the leg that's bent. And we're finding this spinal lateral bend. You can open the hands apart and you can keep the toe on the ground, or you can start to hover the knee away from the earth. Really reach up and down through the fingers. And then start to release the foot to the ground. Straighten this left leg. And from the spine, start to open the arms out to the side and then twist back to the center. So you're now sort of facing the chest towards the straight leg. Again, lifting from the inner thigh. You can start to lift that leg up and away from the ground. You can flex the toes. This is like Trikonasana, but in the air. And then bend the knee and hug the arms around one another. Release the feet to the ground. Inhale the elbows and the fingers up towards the ceiling. And then reach forward and come back to this neutral movement for us. And just allow that to release with movement. Good, and then coming to the right toe tip. And reaching down towards the groin in order to open to the other side of the body. So the left elbow reaches up. You can open the hands apart and you have the option to stay here. Or you can lift this leg, this knee up, and really reach the hands in opposite directions. Good, and then start to release the toe to the ground. Open the arms apart and twist from the belly. So now your chest is facing more in line with your left leg. And you can still lift from the inner part of the right leg and hover the ground or keep it on the floor. Flex the toes. And then bend the knee, hug the arms towards opposite shoulders and release the feet down. Inhale the elbows and the fingers up. And then exhale, start to fold forward and return to this movement. Good. And then we'll just do one more posture like that before we move into more familiar yoga postures. Start to come to the left toe tip and start to reach the hands towards the outside of the right hip. And then reach the right hand up overhead. So we're finding a twist in the spine. And then with this front leg, you can start to cross it over the left. And you can start to draw the knee up. So twist in opposite directions here. So it's like you're twisting your torso to the left and drawing your knee to the right, the spinal twist. Take a breath in and then hug the arms around. Open the leg out and release the foot to the ground, and you can shift the weight from side to side and then draw the elbows and the fingers up. And we'll just do that on the other side. Start to come to the right toe this time. And then reach the hands to the outside of the left hip and reach the opposite hand up. So for me, it's my left. Hands reach in opposite directions. You can step this toe so it's just in front of your standing leg, and then you can draw the knee away from the ground and twist the torso towards the right and the knees towards the left. So you're sort of spiraling around yourself. And then draw the knee in the air so the hips open. Grab opposite shoulders. Release the feet down and unwind the elbows. Then the fingers up towards the ceiling. Bring the hands towards the heart center and start to fold forward for Uttanasana. Inhale, find a halfway lift. And exhale, plant the hands and make your way back to a plank. So you can take whatever variation of a vinyasa feels good for you. You can lower down to chaturanga and inhale to find an upward facing dog, or you can continue taking baby cobra. And then exhale for downward facing dog. And just take a moment to press the hands down to the floor. Try to breathe to the belly. Notice if the belly is tense. You want your breath to be as deep as possible in the body. And then look in between your hands, and you can come up onto the toes, lift the heels without letting the knees touch the ground. You can sink the sit bones back towards the heels, and then you can spring forward. Inhale, find a halfway lift, and exhale, fold. Inhale, reach to the sides and up overhead. And then we'll come back to this movement to reach the hands forward and down. And just find this pattern, this loop within the body. And start to come to the right toe tip and reach to the outside of the right hip. And then slowly open the arms apart. So you're just reaching in opposite directions and look down towards the ground. You can draw the right knee in towards the chest and just stay here for a moment. You're welcome to release the toe to the ground and start to reach that right leg back, or you can hover for a moment in this unsupported Ardha Chandrasana. Take a breath in. And then with control, everyone has the right foot at the back of the mat now. So the back foot is about 45 degrees. And then square both hips to face forward. Release both hands to the front ankle. And then with the inhale, reach the right fingers up overhead. So you're unwinding the spine, look up to the top hand, and making your way into Trikonasana triangle pose. So we're trying to draw the belly button up towards the ceiling to spiral the chest open, while at the same time, maintain awareness of the feet. Press the feet in opposite directions on the mat. You don't have to lock the knees straight. You can keep a micro bend. Take a breath in and out. One more just like that. Try to unclench the jaw. Notice where you're carrying extra tension that's not necessary for the posture. And then look down to your bottom foot, the left foot. Press to the heel and stack the spine upright. Start to lengthen the left elbow forward and flex the fingers back towards the right collarbone. And you can reach this right hand down towards the right foot. And you can slide this foot forward. And you might stay here like this, just lengthening through the side of the body. Or if it's something that feels good, you can start to lift the right foot from the earth and flex the toes back. Still lengthening that left elbow up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. And then slowly, if the foot is lifted, come back to the toes and spiral the chest to face forward. Allow the hips to square to the front of the mat. Press the hands back behind you. You can stay here, or you can start to lift the back foot into the air for Warrior 3. Try to pull the heart forward and through. You can flex the back toes towards your face. And then try to move seamlessly through the air. You can come to the right toe tip, or you can draw the knee towards your chest. Round over the leg to release the spine. And then let go of both feet to the ground. Good. And then just find this neutral spiraling upwards. And we'll do that on the other side. So now start to come to your left toe tip. Bring your hands to the outside of the left hip, and then slowly open the hands apart. Look down to the ground, just in front of the right foot, and draw the left knee in towards the chest. You can stay here, or you can release the left toe to the ground and step back if it feels good. You can hover the back foot and find this Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Take a breath here. And then with control, start to release the left foot back to the ground. So your stance is wide, set up the feet, and then using your hands still in this motion, start to pivot both thighs towards the front of the mat. Release both hands to the front ankle. And like you're pulling the string of a bow, start to unravel the spine from the belly up until the hand wants to start reaching up to the ceiling. So the gaze is up towards the left fingertips. And you want to feel like somebody is pulling you up towards the ceiling, so you virtually carry no weight through this bottom hand. Just take a few breaths here. One more breath in. And look down to the bottom foot. Press to the front heel and start to stack the shoulders over the hips. This time we'll extend the right elbow up towards the right corner. Flex the fingers down towards the left collarbone. Reach back with the left hand towards the left foot. So you can bend the knee and slide this foot forward. And maybe you stay here just on the left toe tip. Or maybe you start to hover the back foot, flex the toes, and extend all the way through the right side of the body. Take a breath in and out. If the foot is lifted, gently release the left toes back to the ground. Spin on the toe tip, draw the chest to face forward, the hips square off. The hands reach back behind you. You can stay here as an option, or you can lift the left leg away from the ground, coming into the Virabhadrasana, the flying warrior. And just keep your gaze on one point that's not moving to help your balance. Notice if you're collapsing in your lower back, can you breathe to the belly and reach back with the tailbone? And then maybe you draw the left toe tip forward, or maybe you draw the knee towards the chest and round over the thigh. And then release both feet down to the ground. And just find this movement again until the hands come to the heart center and fold forward. Inhale, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, fold and step the right foot back into the air, and then slowly release towards a runner's lunge. Spin the right heel down to the ground. So you're setting up for warrior two legs. This back foot is now parallel to the back edge of the mat. And then unravel the arms, like you're spiraling open to warrior two. So the shoulders are over the hips. The arms are extending out. But see that your shoulders can move. See that your belly can breathe. And maybe you keep a sense of buoyancy through the legs. And spark out from the core. So the inner thighs are active and pressing away from the body. Take a breath in and out. And then start to draw the fingertips towards one another. Send the elbows to the side. So you're sort of rounding in the spine here. And then for me, this is my right back leg. So my right elbow, the same as the back foot, is going to start to extend upwards. So you can feel where we're going. You can start to open the arms. And maybe this front elbow finds the front knee, and you reach up through the top hand. So you're coming into your Parsva Konasana, your extended side angle. Or maybe this left hand comes down to the ground. And you allow your hips to sink, but just try not to go somewhere if the body's not inviting you. It's a process of patience. And you can look up towards the top fingertips. Try to breathe through the belly. Notice if your jaw is clenched. And then everyone release both hands to frame the front foot. Spin on the back heel, so you're coming to a runner's lunge. And start to straighten the front leg, send the sit bones back, so you're folding over this leg and feeling a little bit of release through your front hamstring. And then bend the knee and come back to a crescent warrior or runner's lunge. And then lift the fingers forward and up for crescent warrior. And here you can explore bending this back knee as generously as you need to. And try to press the sit bones forward so you feel a lengthening across the front of the right hip flexor. And then you can slowly start to straighten the back leg if you can maintain that. And then reach the hands to the outside of this front leg's hip. And then the opposite hand will reach up. So whichever leg is forward, that arm is reaching up towards the ceiling. And then you can bring this front elbow to the front knee, have the palm facing up, and reach up to the top corner with the top arm. So this is a revolved extended side angle. So it's similar to what we just found, but we're twisted over the front leg. Take one more breath in here. And then look down to the front foot. Press to the front heel. Keep the twist in the spine as you stack the shoulders over the hips. And then hug the arms so you're grabbing opposite shoulders. Reach the elbows and the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And slowly fold over the front leg. Release the hands to the ground and step back to a plank. If a vinyasa would serve you, feel free to move through one. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Exhale as you move back to your downward facing dog. And you can stay still or you can move. It's up to you. Notice if your breath has become a little bit more staggered, if it's faster, if it's more shallow. And see if you can use this time to slow it down, to lengthen the inhale and lengthen the exhale. And then look to the space in between the hands, and you can jump forward or you can step forward. We'll meet at the top in a halfway lift first, and then exhale, fold. Inhale, reach to the sides and up overhead, and then exhale, fold forward again, Uttanasana. So start to step the left foot back into the air this time, and then release the left toes to the ground. Spin the heel down, so we're setting up for warrior two on this side, and then spiral the left hand up back behind you and come to your warrior two. So the whole thing can feel fluid like a dance. And then once you get to your warrior two, you can circle through the shoulders. You can still breathe to the belly. See if you can experiment with how deep you can breathe in these postures. And just fix the gaze steadily over the front middle finger. The drishti is a part of the posture. Shifting eyes is a shifting mind. Take a breath in and out. And then start to extend the elbows to the side, draw the fingers towards one another at the midline of the body, and start to reach the left elbow upwards so you can feel this lengthening through the whole side body before opening the arms. So you can stay here, or you can find more depth or a bind if that's something that you'd like to practice with. Just try to notice if you're finding a point where you can no longer breathe comfortably. If you are, then that's a good sign you should back off a little. Maybe you can still check to see that your shoulders can move, your fingers can move. And try to use the breath to soften into these postures. And then wherever you are, start to release both hands to frame the front foot. Spin on the back heel and start to straighten the right leg. Fold over so you can feel this hamstring stretch. It's like an extended pyramid posture. And then start to bend the front knee so it's stacked over the front ankle. And start to reach the fingers forward and up for a crescent warrior. So you can adjust the stance if it's too long. Feel free to step the back foot in and bend this left knee. Press the sit bones forward. Really try to feel something across the left hip flexor. And then if that feels good and you can maintain it, start to straighten through the left leg. Really reach up, lift the chest. And start to reach both hands on the outside of the right hip and reach the right fingers up towards the ceiling. So this left elbow can come to the left knee with the palm facing up, and try to twist your belly towards the wall on your right side. You can look up towards the right fingertips. Try to spiral the shoulders, stacking, so you can really be open across the chest. Steady the breath. And then look down to the bottom foot. Keep the twist in the spine. Press to the front heel and stack the shoulders over the hips. And then hug this top arm forward and around. Reach the elbows and the fingers up for crescent warrior. And then exhale, fold forward. Release the hands to the ground and step back to a plank. So you can move through a vinyasa or you can skip it. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Just settle the breath. Come back to this Samavriti breathing. Even inhale and even exhale. Take one more breath in and out. And then look to the space in between the hands and make your way to the top of the mat. Halfway lift when you arrive, and then exhale to fold. Inhale, reach to the sides and up overhead. And then exhale the hands to heart center and start to place both palms facing up. And start to open the feet to the sides. You can stay buoyant in the knees, and then open the heels to the sides so the toes are in. And just slowly in that motion, start to open up wider through the legs until you get to this comfortable space where you can sink the hips low and bend the knees. So they're tracking in the same direction as the toes. I like my toes to face the corners of the mat. And then reach down towards the ground like you're picking up something, interlace the fingers and press the palms down and away. And then press forward and up. So the fingers, the palms press up, the shoulders can be active. Maybe you look up to really like you're trying to press the ceiling. Take a breath in. And then with the breath out, reach the hands forward and in between the legs. So your top of the head reaches down towards the ground. And then inhale, reach the fingers forward so they're in line with your shoulders. Let go of the fingertips and start to open the hands up behind you and interlace the hands behind the small of the back. Lift the chest, lift the gaze. And then exhale, dive the heart forward. Look back in between the legs. And then to come out of this, press the pubic bone forward, lengthen through the spine, stack the shoulders, release the hands, and start to interlace the fingers again. Press the ground away, and the hands go up overhead. So you can stay here, or you can start to bring the right shoulder towards the right knee. So you're lengthening the side of the body, and then roll the belly towards the center, towards the ground, and come up through the center. So we're just doing one side of the body at a time. Start to roll the left shoulder towards the left knee. Stay here for a moment, and then roll the belly towards the ground and come up through the center. Release the hands forward and start to roll through the wrists. And you can start to slowly release the hands to the ground. Keep the bend in the knees, and then swivel on the toes. Reach the heels out. You can look forward and lengthen the spine. And then with the exhale, fold in between the legs. So this is a wide-legged forward fold. The hands can stay on the ground or they can stay on the ankles. Draw the top of the head down towards the earth. And try to press into the sides of each feet so you can feel the sit bones drawing away from one another. Maybe the weight shifts towards the big toes. Take one more breath in here. And release the hands to shoulder distance. Inhale, find a halfway lift. And start to spin on the toes, draw the heels in, bend the knees. Reach back in between the legs and flex the wrists, come up like you're in a little bunny rabbit position. And then open the arms out, and you can sort of sway, lengthen one side of the body and then the other. And then inhale, straighten the legs, palms face up. And you can just start to make your way back slowly towards the center position. The backs of the hands reach together. Inhale, reach the fingers up overhead, look up. And let's just move through our spinal movements one more time. Reach towards the left side of the hip and draw the right elbow up towards the ceiling. Open the hands apart, shift the weight, and get light on one foot. Really extend the hands in opposite directions. And just notice if you feel more open this time. And then roll forward, both hands reach up towards the ceiling. And we'll just do that on the other side. Maybe you find more depth here. And then roll forward and up. And then both hands come down and like you're pulling something from the ground, twisting around yourself. You can spiral all the way open and around. And then hug the left arm forward and around. And unwind up to the ceiling and then back down. And we'll just do that on the other side. And then hug the back arm forward and around. Reach the elbows and the fingers up towards the ceiling and start to fold all the way down to the ground. Forward fold. Inhale, find a halfway lift. And exhale, fold, plant through the hands and step back through a plank. Start to release the knees to the ground and draw the sit bones back towards the heels for a child's pose. In this child's pose, you can keep the toes tucked, or you can untuck the toes and bring the hands back towards the ankles and just allow yourself to turn into a tiny little ball on the surface of the earth. You can close the eyes and allow yourself to just settle back into the breath and start to let go of the standing part of the practice. Take one more breath in here. And start to come into a kneeling posture. So the shoulders stack upright over the hips. And you can bring the palms together at heart center. And maybe you lift up onto the knees. So we're going to do camel pose. Let's all tuck our toes under. So try to have all 10 toes tucked under. You can look back at the feet and make any adjustments with your hands. And then let's start by bringing our hands to our lower backs. Have the thumbs facing to the sides of the room and the fingertips facing down. Try to draw the elbows together behind the back so you feel this automatic lifting across the chest. And press the hips forward, start to lift the heart up and back. And this is the first version of Ustrasana Camel. And then with an inhale, stack the shoulders over the hips and come down to a seat. Close the eyes and just notice what the sensations of camel is in your body. They say that back bending is better than coffee. So maybe you notice that your heart rate is a little bit elevated or your breath feels a little bit shallow. And then start to bring the hands to heart center and make your way to standing on the knees. And from here, you're welcome to keep the toes tucked. And you can start to release the hands to the first position that we found, lifting the chest before moving back. Or if it's something that would feel nice for you, you can release your hands to the backs of your heels, press the hips forward, lift the heart up towards the ceiling, and then allow the top of the head to reach back behind you. And just take a moment to, how can you breathe in this posture? Is your breath compromised, or can you still breathe deeply? And then slowly start to take the gaze forward and stack everything over the knees again. And then you can untuck the toes and sit back onto the heel. And maybe this time you take the left hand palm facing up and then the right hand over top. So the hands are both in a little pillow stack with the palms facing upwards. Close the eyes and just take a second of silence to tune inwards. And then we'll just do one more. Back bends come in sets of 3 in traditional yoga. So bring the hands together at the heart center and start to stand up on the knees. You're welcome to tuck the toes, or you're welcome to keep the tops of the feet on the ground. So you'll have 2 variations to choose from: the palms on the lower back, just leaning backwards like this, or you can go for the hands on the backs of the heels. Press the hips forward and find your back bend. The top of the head is the last to move back behind you. Take the gaze forward and then make your way out. Slowly use the core. And then you can lower the sit bones down to the heels, and this time come towards the child's pose again. So you're welcome to take whichever variation would serve you the best. Maybe the hands are back, maybe they're on the ground by your sides, or maybe they're reaching forward. There are lots of different options. Just allow your body to guide you into which one it wants to take today. And then start to extend the arms forward if they're back behind you. Come up first to a tabletop, and then tuck the toes and come back to a downward facing dog. This will be our final downward facing dog of the day before we transition down to our seat. You can look to the space in between the hands and start to walk the feet forward until you cross at the ankles and lower down to your seat. Reach the legs forward and keep a bend in the knee. You can release the sole of the foot to the ground and just allow yourself to fold over your thighs. Maybe the forehead is just resting on the knees. And just allow your breath to move deeply. Imagine that you can breathe into the sacral area. That's the flat, fused part of the spine. And then imagine that you can breathe out of your tailbone. And then look to the space where your toes are. And you can start to extend the heels long on the ground and deepen your forward fold. So maybe the hands come to the ankles, or maybe they come to the pinky toe edge of the feet. And you can keep as much of a bend as you need through the knees, but maybe you can continue breathing down the spine. So imagine that you're breathing in through your sacrum and breathing out through your tailbone. Take one more breath in here, just like that. And then start to look forward and reach the fingers forward and up overhead. So the spine is now stacked. And without using your hands, start to place the soles of the feet on the ground. And you can release the hands back behind you. Have your fingertips facing forward. And start to lift the top of the belly up towards the ceiling. So this is like a reverse tabletop. Press to the hands. And if it's okay for your neck, you can drop the top of the head back behind you. And the whole time, try to spiral the inner thighs up. Lift the belly up, breathe to the belly, and press to the hands. And one more breath just like that. And then take your gaze forward and release your sit bones down to the ground. And give yourself a hug. Find length through the spine up to the crown of the head from the sit bones. And you can start to bring your hands just behind your knees. You can point through the toes and try to keep this lengthening through the spine. If this is okay and you want to add more, you can hover the shins so they're parallel to the ground. Maybe you open the hands out to the side with the palms facing up, or maybe you straighten the legs. But the moment you start to round the spine and compromise the core, back off a little bit. Take a breath in and out. And then exhale, start to lower down. So you're hovering everything from the ground. Take a breath in, and then exhale, release down to the earth. Walk the knees so that you hug them in towards your chest, one at a time. And then bring the hands to the knees. And just take a moment to feel this lengthening through the lower back on the ground. You can circle the knees, or you can stay still. If you circle the knees, just take your knees in the opposite direction too. And then slowly start to release the soles of the feet to the ground, and then the soles of the feet to touching so the knees go out wide. And bring your hands to the lower belly. The thumbs and the first fingers can meet to create a triangle and have it be a downward facing triangle. And try to breathe down into the center point of that triangle. You can close the eyes and really start to soften into the support of the ground. Allow your breath to start to deepen even deeper than it's been throughout the entire class. And start to just tune in with yourself to notice how your day is starting off today on this beautiful Sunday. And then one by one, you can start to straighten the legs to lengthened on the mat. And you can open the hands to the side and land in your Shavasana, your final rest posture of the day. Start to let go of patterns of control over your breathing. Start to allow your breath to return to this nourishing and restful breath that you might find when you're sleeping. It's almost a whisper. And just start to lengthen your breath. Take a deep breath in, as deep as you can in your belly. And sigh it out with an open mouth. And just take 2 more like that. The deep breaths pulls you back into this moment. And then you can start to bring some movement into the toes and into the fingers. And you can bring the soles of the feet onto the ground. So you feel the lower back lengthening. Maybe the hands go up overhead. And roll off to whichever side is calling you for a fetal posture. So you can use the bottom arm like a pillow for the head. And the eyes can still be closed. And then try to keep your gaze soft and just press your way up to a seat. So the spine is stacked over the hips, and the hands can just come softly to the knees. The eyes can still be closed, and allow your breath to wander into the belly. Allow the shoulders to soften down the spine. And try to let go and soften your expression. Try to let go of the eyebrows and the forehead, the eyes and the jaw. And then start to bring your hands together at heart center. Press the palms together. Maybe the elbows just slightly energize outwards and away from the center part of the body. And let's seal our class today with the sound of Om. You're welcome to join or just listen. Take a deep breath in to clear. Sigh out the breath. And then take an inhale to chant. Deep breath in. Om. Bow your head towards your heart. And just take a moment to feel a little bit of gratitude for your health, for the ability to move and be with yourself. Thank you for joining me. Namaste. So thank you for joining me. There's the chat. Claudia ran. Cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did that feel okay?
Yeah, some of the postures are a little bit challenging for me, but overall, it's really relaxing.
Good, good. Yeah, so there's a little bit of challenge. Like a lot of the balancing postures are definitely more challenging. But I think it's good to have a mixture of things that challenge us and things that make us feel pretty easeful.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for joining. And let's get together soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.